Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for our virtual seed starting class. Today we're just going to be going through some tips and tricks as it comes to starting seeds and also discussing some of the things if you signed up for our class of what are in our containers. So let's get started. First, I just want to go over the supplies that we have, get you familiar with the things that are going to be in your bags if you signed up for class. So of course, primarily most important for seed starting class are the seeds. So you'll see a variety of different seed packs in your bag, all dependent on what you signed up for. So take a look at those. You're also going to be getting a bag of soil here that you can use. It's a potting mix that you can use to start your seeds. We have a number of containers that you're going to be getting as well, depending on what you signed up for, and we'll go through more of those as we talk about our different plants. You're also going to be getting this plastic tray to sort of put all of your things in. I really like to use these as a way to protect my counter, carpet, table, wherever I'm starting my plants. That way it doesn't have any holes in it, so it can contain, the moisture when you're watering and things like that. And then you're also going to be getting this sort of multi-purpose bag. So all of your supplies are going to be packed in this bag, but this is also like a canvas bag. So you can reuse it if you want to get groceries. Otherwise, you can also use it to plant some of your plants in. So that is really fun as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on too. So I just want to go through kind of how I think about starting plants and maybe what order I think about doing those in. So one of the first plants, or the first plants that I typically start, are my onions. So I like to grow onions from seed. I've had really good luck with getting some really nice large onions from those. When I'm starting onions, if you chose onions, you'll be getting some of these containers, and I would recommend starting them in here. Per cell, you can put like 2 to 4 onion seeds, however many you want. And then later on in the season, you can, if you want to separate your onions apart, onions have a really unique root system compared to some of the other plants that we're starting, that they can be taken apart from each other. Or you can, what I do in the garden typically is I just plant them in that cluster of 3 or 4 and then let those grow together. Onions from seed, really fun to start, really good to grow. So you can start those in this container. Also, I tend to think of tomatoes and peppers also in the same category. So typically you want to be starting, your tomatoes and peppers about 4 to 8 weeks before the last frost. So for our region, I typically think our last frost date is around the end of May, Memorial Day weekend, give or take. So when we back up from that, that's looking at, mid-April-ish to be starting our tomato and our pepper plants. And you can start those in these containers. In here, I would, pack it with some soil that's already moist. Put your seeds in, plant them about 1/4 inch deep. Typically, I'll put like 2 seeds in this container. And if both of those seeds sprout, then I'll clip one of them off and just let that one plant continue to grow. Just so that way there's only one system sort of competing for all the resources that are going to be in this pot, and then also further on when you transplant them to your garden. The next plant I typically start is broccoli. For your broccoli, I have put these, if you selected broccoli, I put these little plastic containers in there. I have found that broccoli tends to be a bit more temperamental, can sometimes get a bit diseasey, and that having it in these plastic containers tend to help versus the peat pots. Just something that I've noticed. Again, I'll put 1 to 2 seeds per cell, and then clip one of them off, whichever one is looking like it might be the weaker plant. So there's just 1 seed starting per cell. Again, I'll start this typically mid to late April. I like to expand out my broccoli season. That way all my broccoli isn't ready to harvest at once. So, maybe start a couple mid-April, start another couple, 2 or 3 weeks down the road would be a good way to start those. When I think about starting plants, I just wanted to share some tips and tricks with you that I think are really helpful. So number one, before I start plants, I like to get my soil fairly moist. That way, when we're putting our seeds in here, then covering it with water, a lot of times if your soil is really dry, it'll really compact that down a little bit, and you're not going to have, your seeds can be in random places then, depending on how the water is flowing through the system. Or you might not have enough soil in your container afterwards. So that's one thing that I really like to do, is get my soil wet, pack it in here, or even put dry soil in here, water it a little bit, and then plant my seeds on top, just to sort of help things keep rolling. Another one of the things that I find to be really helpful is after I plant my seeds, but before they've sprouted, to keep them covered. You can kind of see that on the bottom picture here. I have a row of plants down there. I mean, we have some big trays and we have them covered. You can also do this really easily at home with just some plastic wrap, putting it around. That way it really helps keep this very moist environment. Seeds need water in order to germinate. So making sure that those seeds aren't getting dried out will help ease their stress level as they are starting to sprout. I would also say that good light is key to healthy plants. Here at work, I use some artificial grow lights, and lights can be found in a very vast amount of ways. So you can, potentially go to Walmart, Amazon, whatever, get a big light. There are sometimes just screw bulbs that you can put in like a regular lamp that can also help supplement light. Otherwise, if you have a nice south facing window that lets, some light into your house, that could be another good spot to put your plants. And no matter what I'm doing, I am constantly rotating my plants, so that way my plants aren't starting to grow too much to one way or the other. I like to keep those plants growing straight up, so sometimes rotating them will help do that. I would also say that good air circulation is key. Sometimes just an overhead fan or a ceiling or a box fan, sort of blowing and moving some air can be really helpful to help prevent disease in your plants. So those are just some tips as we're looking at starting these plants, of things to do to sort of help get them off to a good start. We also have another couple of plants here for you. These are seeds that you can start inside or outside. And honestly, I do some of both. Again, these little square trays here are great for starting cucumbers and lettuce. These are plants that, again, can be started pretty much around the beginning of May or so. You're going to want to wait to transplant your cucumbers for sure outside until after the last danger of frost. Lettuce tends to be a little more hardy. You don't have to watch it as closely, but I think it would be great. There should be enough seeds in your packet that if you want to start some ahead of time and direct seed them outside, you can do that as well. Typically here at work, that's what I do. I do a little bit of both. Honestly, at my home garden, my cucumbers and my lettuce, I just plant directly outside. So you do whatever is best for you. We have another couple of plants that you can see directly outside. So your peas, those are a pretty cold tolerant plant. You can plant those around the middle of May, again, directly outside. You also have some beans. Beans aren't in our bags right now. We've been waiting to get these seeds here and they're just not coming. But once those come, I will get in touch with you and let you know when you can come pick them up. So beans, you're going to want to wait to plant until after the last danger of frost. So around that Memorial Day timeframe, watch the weather around that time of year to get those plants started. I'm also really excited that we are going to be offering some traditional varieties of plants inside your bags this year. The first one that we're going to be doing is our Lenape blue corn. So we've been growing this corn here for about 2 years now, and it is just, she's a beautiful plant. She's a fun plant to grow, and I'm so excited that you guys are going to be able to try it as well. This corn you can plant directly outside around that mid to late May time frame. Corn germinates typically the best when your soil temperature reaches about 50 degrees. So just keep that in mind. You're going to want to be planting this seed about 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep in rows that are about 3 feet apart from each other. So if you are wanting to save this for seed, to continue on and maybe share with some of your family and friends, you're going to want to make sure that you're planting this corn at least a half mile away from any other kinds of corn. So I know that might be easier for some people than others, depending on where you live and depending on where you're planting it. But yeah, I've seen it anywhere about a half miles, the shortest distance, upwards of 2 miles. I've seen recommendations for, just because corn pollen really runs with the wind, and that can cause some easy cross pollination. Now, if you can't do that, there are some other things you can do. We have tools like tassel bags and things like that. And if you're interested in learning more about that, please let me know and we can set up another class about it in the future. This corn, we've started cooking with it a little bit. You can see down here, we have a picture of some blue corn flour cupcakes that we made for a harvest celebration that we did this fall. And just delicious. But if you want to make blue corn mush meal, use it in flour, great for that, and very tasty. You can also use it as like a sweet corn too. It matures to purple, but it starts as white. So yeah, it's just another fun way that you can play with it. We're also offering our Stockbridge beans this year. Again, we've been growing these beans for the past 2 years. We were able to get these seeds from Seed Savers Exchange. Just another great plant to grow. Very easy. You guys will plant them. You'll love them. Awesome plant. So this is another one similar to the last beans that we talked about. You're going to want to plant those directly outside at the end of May, after that last danger of frost. These are bush beans, so they're only going to get about 1 foot to 2 feet tall, somewhere in there. But they can be great for growing in containers. So if you want to put, 4 to 6 seeds in here, that could be a great spot to grow your beans. Similarly to corn, we got to make sure that we are being aware of our planting distances from other beans. So planting in a container might be great, so that way you can remove it from the rest of your garden if you're growing, regular green beans in your garden and want to save these for seed. Again, making sure that they have the distance needed is really important when we think about seed saving. And for the past couple of years, we've really just been working on cultivating this to save them for seeds. You can try them as a green bean, not quite sure how they're going to be, but as a dry bean, they're great in soups, salads, anything that you would put your regular beans in, and they are just beautiful to look at. So very excited that you guys are going to be able to try them this year, and I'm really would appreciate some feedback from you guys on what you think about them and how you use these, whether it's the Stockbridge beans or the Lenape blue corn as well. So with that being said, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help in any way that I can. My email address is on here. Also, I would encourage you to follow along with our Facebook page. If you search From the Earth Farm SMC on there, we like to post videos, pictures, things like that are going on in the garden. And you can always post questions on there as well, and we'll get in touch with you. So with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us today.